Over the past year, the landscape for purchasing and owning a Tesla has shifted dramatically, and that has caused many people, including me, to wonder what it means to own a Tesla anymore. Well, as it turns out, an opinion piece in the Boston Globe from this morning talks about just that and whether the author plans to continue owning her Tesla. I'd like to look at the article and also let you know what I think based on these thoughts. So let's take a look. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. Like I said, I would like to look at this article by Michelle Miller, which was posted on May 9th, which is today as I record this, probably yesterday as I post the video at 3 a.m., which is very, very odd time. But anyway, the title of the article is, I drive a Tesla, I'm not selling it. So you can already tell what Michelle's conclusion is. What I want to do is look at her argument and then decide whether I agree with her conclusion and whether we should retain our Teslas or sell them. And of course, I would love to know what you all think as well. Definitely let me know in the comments. While you're down there, if you don't mind liking the video and consider subscribing for more of this kind of content, that really helps out the channel. Thanks so much. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and read this article. I will leave a link to it in the description, of course, so you can take a look. The byline for the article is, in a rush to distance ourselves from harmful figures, we risk losing sight of the actual work of change, which is slow, layered, and often messy. And of course, that makes a big statement about harmful figures. We can tell exactly who she's talking about with this. I mean, Elon Musk has been in the news all over the place, whether you agree with his position or disagree with it. He has clearly become quite the polarizing figure. And as the head of Tesla, the techno king of Tesla, what people think about him politically actually has a major ramification on Tesla itself. So you can tell Michelle's opinion about Elon Musk because she says harmful figure in this, but I actually think that sets up the article really, really well. She basically is of the opinion that he is a harmful figure. And then the question is, even given that Elon Musk is a harmful figure, which you don't necessarily have to agree with, but if you do agree with that, do you sell your Tesla? Do you not purchase a new one? How do you react to all of that, given the fact that you think that he's a harmful figure? Again, you don't have to agree with that, but I think that really sets out the article in stark contrast. It's like, if you assume this, do you have to do this, right? It's a causality thing. Because of one, do you have to do the other? So we'll start off with something that's near and dear to my heart because it just happened to us the other day. The other day, I was yelled at in a grocery store parking lot for driving a Tesla. And if you haven't caught my post on X, I will leave a link in the description, but I'll also overlay the video here as I read this article because I think it is valuable to look at. So what happened basically was we were at the movies and a person came up and in sidewalk chalk wrote on the asphalt next to our Cybertruck, fascist. And because of course the Tesla records everything, we have the entire recording of him going and doing this, including tattoos, what he looks like, all of that kind of stuff. But anyway, this is not the only incident where we have been definitely targeted for being Tesla owners, but this is one that just because everything was recorded and I happen to have it, we have a very nice video to go along with the story. So anyway, I can empathize with this because I have been yelled at previously. I've been flipped off. Obviously, somebody has written that I'm a fascist, etc. So I have an empathy. I'm sure many of you as well, being Tesla owners, do, especially those of you who own Cybertrucks, because they seem to be the particular lightning rods. Anyway, she continues, she was yelled at, not because I parked poorly or cut someone off, because of what the car supposedly represents. In that moment, it didn't matter why I bought it, what I believe in, or how I live. The car was a symbol, I was the target. And I completely agree with this. It's like, I don't have to agree with anything Elon Musk or even any of the employees at Tesla believe. I just own a car. If I bought a Ford, am I making some sort of political statement? I don't think so. It's kind of crazy that just owning a vehicle is a political statement at this point. But that is in fact the lie of the land right now. As she continues, I didn't buy my Tesla in 2020 to make a political statement. I bought it to stop burning gas, which was exactly my thought as well. Plus, I just think electric motors are just way cooler. They're much more efficient, like literally cooler. They run cooler, but also it's just the whole concept of driving something electric as opposed to gas makes so much more sense. You're not having to dig the oil out of the ground. You're not having to pollute things. But in addition, an electric motor just has fewer parts. It doesn't wear as much. It's a much more elegant solution. So I agree. This was absolutely a reason we bought Teslas starting in 2020. And actually one of the reasons I bought a Prius back in 2010, because, you know, I wanted to reduce the amount of gas that I was using. And that was the best solution at the time. Anyway, as Michelle continues, it was an intentional step towards reducing my carbon footprint, aligning my values with my actions in the best way I could. And I'm not going to undo that choice just because the narrative around it has changed. So that is her general point here. What's unfolding now is a case study in how some progressive movements have become more invested in symbols principles than systems, and I think that's an excellent, excellent way to put that. In a rush to distance ourselves from harmful figures, we risk losing sight of the actual work of change, which is slow, layered, and often messy. Chastising someone for using an electric vehicle because its CEO has become polarizing isn't activism, it's performance. And then a little history lesson here. Let's talk about the company's namesake, Nikola Tesla, the inventor, futurist, and engineer who championed alternating current, clean energy, and innovation for the public good. He died largely unrecognized and in poverty, while others profited off of his genius. His name was later adopted by a company whose CEO has made billions and headlines for reasons that increasingly depart from Tesla's values. The irony is sharp, but the car still works. Progress in a capitalist system is rarely neat. Sometimes flawed people build useful things. I mean, just look at Henry Ford back in the day. Sometimes good tools are born inside messy systems. That doesn't negate their value. The cultural narrative around Tesla has flipped. Years ago, when I bought my first Tesla, it was the political right that mocked the car, which is very, very true. There were times, even in 2020, that I was looked at in a very negative way by the folks. I live in Georgia, which is a very purple state. So a lot of conservative people looked very askance at the vehicle and told me just as much. They told me it was a golf cart, things like that. So I was told off by people on the right. Now it is shifted and being told off by people on the left and being called a fascist in sidewalk chalk. As Michelle continues, my father, a lifelong Republican, urged me to get rid of it. He saw it as a symbol of elitism, impractical, smug, unnecessary. As she says, I bought my second Tesla in 2024 for the same reason as the first, to continue reducing my reliance on fossil fuels. Now, that same father has warmed to it, surprise, surprise. Tesla is often praised in conservative circles, while many progressives are actively protesting against the company. What changed? Not the car, but the story we tell about it. And that is exactly true. The car is still the car. If the political pendulum can swing that easily, maybe the car isn't the problem. Maybe we've just gotten too comfortable treating every purchase as a declaration of identity rather than asking, what does this tool actually do? I consider myself a progressive independent, and I would actually say that I feel pretty much that way myself. That's my alignment as well. I care deeply about climate action and corporate accountability, but I also believe we can't afford to collapse every conversation into a purity test in which the appearance of complicity is treated as paramount. So what she's talking about here is virtue signaling versus virtue action. In other words, are you walking the walk? Are you doing the thing that you believe in, or are you just signaling that you're doing it? It's a lot easier to signal it, to say like, oh, woe is me, I'm a victim, terrible things are happening, things like that. And that goes for both ends of the political spectrum. People on both ends play the victim all the freaking time. If you listen to the news, if you listen to either right-wing media or left-wing media, all you hear is victimization narratives. Everyone's like, I'm a victim, I'm a victim, I'm a victim. That's just talking the talk. That's just virtue signaling, talking about how you're being mistreated by the other side and the world is so unfair. I am much more a person who likes to walk the walk. I like to be quiet, and I just like to do the thing that I think is the right thing to do. And obviously, Michelle feels the same way as well. As she continues, nearly everything we consume has a shadow behind it. The phone in your pocket, the clothes on your back, absolutely. The coffee in your hand, most are produced through labor conditions we would reject if we saw them up close. Most of us keep using them anyway, not out of malice or hypocrisy, but because we're navigating the complexity of modern life the best we can. Take Apple, for example. Many of us use iPhones or MacBooks. I'm recording this on a Mac M1 Studio, despite well-documented labor abuses overseas. But those harms feel distant. Tesla, meanwhile, is close enough to see and far enough from most people's lived experience to criticize without consequence. And it's not just proximity fueling the outrage. Elon Musk's increasingly reckless political behavior, from inflammatory gestures to interventions in federal policy, which is true, has given plenty of Americans legitimate reason for concern. Yet what troubles me is the selective outrage. It's easy to denounce a choice you didn't make. It's even easier to suggest someone sell an expensive, low-emission vehicle without acknowledging the real trade-offs involved. And again, if we dial this back a few years to very conservative people talking about not purchasing or getting rid of a Tesla, it's the same thing. It's really easy to tell somebody else to get rid of a product that you didn't buy. If you happen not to own a cell phone, it's really easy to tell other people not to own cell phones phones and that it's a terrible, terrible thing. But once you purchase one and once you become kind of addicted to having it and you need that phone for work, for life, etc., it becomes a much more complicated thing to say like, oh yeah, I'll just get rid of that, no problem at all. It's the same thing with these Teslas. It's really easy when you haven't purchased one yourself, you don't understand the vehicle, and you also don't have the financial hit of purchasing that vehicle. It's real easy to say like, oh, you should get rid of that thing. Whether you're on the right or the left, it doesn't really matter. And the narrative has changed. I've had conservative people in 2020 tell me that I need to get rid of the vehicle. I've had very liberal people in 2024 and 2025 tell me I have to get rid of the vehicle. Both of those recommendations have come from people who haven't personally purchased a Tesla, so it's pretty darn easy. I mean, what if I turn around and told them to get rid of their F-250 with jacked up suspension and stuff that cost them 80 grand or 90 grand to build that vehicle? What if I said to them, I was like, oh, that's a terrible political statement, you need to get rid of that car? I think they're going to say no to that. They're going to be like, I invested a lot of money and time, and this is my vehicle that I own. And I feel the same way about a Tesla. It's just very, very easy if you don't own something to criticize other people who do. It's much more complicated and messy when you do own a vehicle and you understand both the advantages of owning it and the disadvantages of owning it. And you also understand, as in the case of Tesla, that it's just a fantastic product. The vehicles are amazing products and I really love them. And even if it wouldn't be a gigantic financial hit, I can't think of another vehicle that I would rather own than a Tesla. Anyway, with that being said, let's return to the article. As she said, progress, after all, isn't just about individual choices. It's also about building systems that make better choices possible. Very interesting. Tesla's EV charging network, which is awesome, once exclusive to its own customers, is now opening to other electric vehicles, creating critical infrastructure for broader clean transportation. That is a tangible environmental good that extends far beyond any single company or CEO. This isn't about defending billionaires or excusing harm. It's about refusing to discard tools that still serve the future we're trying to build. It's about staying focused on outcomes, not just optics. Progress doesn't happen in clean lines. It happens through contradiction, through persistence, through willingness to acknowledge complexity. And then Michelle concludes, so no, I'm not selling my Tesla, not because I'm ignoring the conversation, but because I'm engaged in it, because I believe evolution doesn't come from symbolic purging, it comes from working, however imperfectly, towards progress. So that's Michelle Miller's conclusion, and I would have to say that kind of no matter what end of the political spectrum you're on, I think that her conclusion is the correct conclusion. Unless you think that objectively gas engines are better and polluting the environment locally at least is better, in other words, producing a lot of carbon emissions and a lot of soot and other things like that locally, and of course the argument can be made at the full climate level as well, but even if you want to deny global climate change and stuff, you can't argue that locally things are better with gas cars than they are with electric, because electric just doesn't pollute locally at all. It doesn't have any emissions. And as I said, for me personally, I can't think of another vehicle that I would rather own than a Tesla. That's just the case, and full self-driving is part of that, but also it's just fun to drive. It's a quality made product. I never have to think about it. No maintenance is really required. It just works, and I really, really like that. So really, given those factors, no matter what you think about Elon Musk, if you own a Tesla, I don't see any reason to get rid of it unless you find another vehicle that you think is just objectively better than a Tesla. And if you're searching for a car, I think that you should give a Tesla a fair shake. You should go test drive it versus other vehicles, and you should objectively evaluate the qualities of that vehicle and whether you think it's going to make a difference to the environment too, if you care about that kind of thing. In other words, think about your actions, not about how you're signaling to other people. You're doing this for yourself and you're acting on your beliefs, not trying to virtue signal for people either on the left or the right. So in the end, I, and misinformation as well, completely agree with Michelle. We're not selling our Teslas. We're keeping them because we love the vehicles. We think that they're fantastic. We enjoy driving them, and we think they fulfill a progressive agenda of helping the environment as well. So we own 3 Teslas currently, and we are not planning on getting rid of any of them. Alrighty, folks, those are my thoughts on the subject. Let me know in the comments what you think about all of this. And while you're down there, again, if you don't mind liking the video, it really, really helps. And if you want to hear other things about Tesla, AI, etc., consider subscribing to this channel, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.